If this happens, we're going to see further pain from the crypto market. Looking into a crypto today, it looks pretty horrific, guys. A sea of red everywhere. And what's really causing this isn't seem to be getting sorted out by anyone really. We've got Bitcoin just having an absolute jump towards the downside. Currently sitting around $24,000. Can we see it going significantly lower? Well, I want to look at something else, which is, for me, pretty much behind everything. If you jump across, guys, and look at the dollar index, I've been talking about the dollar index for time because the dollar index basically takes into account all the different US dollar markets. Bitcoin, Ethereum, cryptocurrency is against the US dollar. If one of them is going up, one of them has to be going down. Dollar index, looking at this on the daily, guys, we did have this drop that came the other day, and I wanted to show you guys. This was the 13th of May, and then here we have the 30th of May. Jumping back to Bitcoin, 13th of May was around here. And then the 30th of May, guys, was here, which is when we saw the DXY hit that little blip. And then now what we've seen is something like this. So you can see now that it's pretty much negatively or inversely correlated to what's happening on the dollar index. What we saw is the dollar index pushing down below, coming back up. If this happens, we could see something horrific happening for crypto, even more horrific than you perhaps are looking at right now. This, for me, up here, is what I would call a supply zone, which means it's when the price is extremely high and is looking to be a good opportunity to short against. Okay, so if I see something enter the supply zone, for me, usually I'm going to short it. And on the flip side of things, down below in a demand zone, I look to buy it, obviously. So right now, guys, we have seen a push back up into this area to retest up at this previous resistance, which is higher than anything its DXY has seen since 2001, just to put that into perspective. So what we're seeing right now is a potential for this to continue to push up. Now, obviously right now, guys, this is not a solid line. This doesn't mean that it has to come down and then we're going to see crypto booming again. What it could do is well and truly push through it, but it's a zone, guys. Okay, so what I'm saying is not a line in the sand. It's not support or resistance. Everyone talks about support and resistance lines. Ultimately, everything is supply and demand is what drives the market up towards the upside or the downside. If we see DXY break through, turn this previous area through here into support and then push on further, then crypto is going to be really having a pretty horrible time. We could see Bitcoin significantly pushing further, and then we're going to see other markets push further against it. You see Bitcoin today is down 9%. We've seen Ethereum taking a 13% tank, and then the smaller market caps taking even bigger ones to the downside. Now, I just mentioned to you about supply and demand boxes. The red box for me is my sell box, and the green box for me is my buy box. Now, we can look back at what has been going on in this market. Now how you find a demand zone, supply zones, we're going to come back, guys, to the 19th of December 2020, which is pretty much the last time we were at these levels, obviously a very long time ago. Now, what basically happens in these areas is the price consolidates, and then you have a huge push, and that's because the banks, etc., are buying up orders, getting ready to push the price higher. And no matter what the time frame is, guys, eventually you will come back to retest a supply and demand zone. And here you can see it's taken nearly a year and a half to come back to this area, but now it is doing it. And right now we're sat around the top, right? 24K is just about here, the top level of this. Now that's to say, in my opinion, we could well be retesting down here towards 21,951. If we go further lower than that, then I'm pretty sure we're going to be in for a bit of a disaster. But what I'm seeing right now is something quite interesting playing out. This is a falling wedge pattern. Ultimately, more often than not, will break towards the upside. This is on a daily chart, guys. The other side of this right now is looking at August, possibly into September. Don't expect to see it booming out of here anytime soon. But I do think that right now, today, that actually we're not going to see much lower than around 23K. You know, I think we could perhaps work out the bottom of here, but 23K for me is pretty much a good level that we might well see a bounce at. Right now, you can see that we're finding support at the top of this green zone, which was the top of the accumulation zone, as I've just showed you. Fundamentally, guys, I'm not going to show you millions of indicators because actually you don't really need them. Supply and demand is what drives the markets. The banks are the ones who are moving the markets like this. People, individuals in the market only have the ability to trade like this. These huge pushes towards the downside or to the upside, whichever way you're going, are all done by institutional investors trying to get you to be scared and sell off your market share before the prices start to reverse. What I could really see, as I've mentioned, we can see where we would interact with around the 21,000. If we were able to maintain ourselves within this line, we could probably see it trickling down. That would take us to around the 10th of July. It doesn't mean that it's never going to go lower than that. It still can go lower, because this is not just a single line in the sand like support and resistance that everyone talks about. This is supply and demand zones. It's how the markets work. So we broke through a previous supply zone. We came down further. We're now taking out more and more stops. Every time the price goes lower, the same as when the price goes higher, every time the price is lower, more people are prepared to buy at that price. Less people are prepared to sell at that price. Okay, so the lower the price, more people are prepared to buy, less people are prepared to sell, to a point where it's going to suddenly get to a point where no one wants to sell their coins anymore. And eventually what happens is the banks fill the orders they can, and then they push out of these zones. So guys, if you are still in crypto and you've been holding since the top and you're feeling sorry for yourself, I get it. Now you're thinking about this supply and demand zone. We won't have that problem again in the future. Obviously, this is probably, but it happens time and time again, guys. Every time it gets down towards these levels, people panic, and what do? They go and sell all their crypto. The banks buy the crypto, and what happens? It goes the other way. So I'm saying right now, we could see further drops towards the sort of 21k. 21,988 is pretty much the lowest I've got right now. Doesn't mean that it's never going to go lower than that. I'm not a financial advisor. Go away and do your own research. This is just me. I'm looking to accumulate in these zones. Catching falling knives, everyone talks about it. Obviously, that's if you're not really looking at what's going on, then it becomes a higher risk. For me, I look to make trades in this area. I have stop losses down here because the upside potential is a pretty good one when you look at potential in terms of risk versus rewards. If we were to look at this in a sort of a shorter time frame, you can see that this is the pattern that we had playing out and is what has ultimately caused this dump. And you can see, guys, we've already completed this pattern. So basically, guys, looking into this pattern, you can see from the bottom of it to the top, all the way up here, you can see that this for price target would be a continuation, and you can take the swing high and you can take the top to the bottom, and guess where we are? We are literally sat just there. So we have completed that phase of the move. I know other people are saying further and further lower, and they will continue to say further and further lower. We've seen Celsius banning people from removing crypto from the platform today. We've seen other fear, all of this FUD, guys. You only ever hear this FUD at the bottom of the market. Okay, when the bottom of the market's in, you start seeing all this scary stuff about all the fear that's going to happen, because someone needs to shake you out of that position. Someone needs to get you to sell your crypto, because if you're not going to sell it, then you're no use to anyone as far as the banks are concerned. So do what the banks are doing, guys. The banks buy low and they sell high. They don't sell into low, cheap prices like now. Yes, we could see a further dip, but just ask yourself, guys, do you think the price of Bitcoin in the future is going to be worth more than $23,800? If you do, it's probably not a bad investment. If it falls lower, you can buy more. If it falls lower, you can hold it, whatever. I tell you what, you probably felt all right about buying crypto when the price was sat at around $65,000 of Bitcoin, and then obviously that would have burned you far harder than if you were to buy now and it went down to, let's say, 15,000. So right now, the psychology of the market is making you very fearful and scared, and it's designed to do that because this is a buy zone. This is not a sell zone, in my opinion. Go and do your own research. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed that realistic update of what's happening in the crypto markets right now. Obviously, I know it's a tough time. Take the pain. Keep focusing on educating yourself, because right now is where you can find some of the very cheapest and best investments. Find those altcoins that are going to make you your 20, 100x's, because that's right now where you find them. No one wants to really watch videos and learn when the markets are down, but that's what you really should be doing, guys. Take that pain, look for the opportunity, because it's right now. The opportunity is now. It wasn't at Christmas when the prices were huge and you were just watching to feel good about your solid investment where you perhaps made 20% in a week, and then now perhaps are feeling that pain. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you soon in another video. Bye bye.